What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video here on B-Mills Wrestling. With Clash in Paris officially in the rearview mirror now, we can start to look forward to the next WWE Premium Live event, which is Wrestlepalooza, which will be held in Indianapolis on September 20th. And that will be the first ever WWE Premium Live event on ESPN. And obviously, since it's going to be the first ever WWE Premium Live event on ESPN, it's going to be a pretty stacked card, as it's been rumored all around social media. So for today's video, I'm going to be trying to predict the entire match card for Wrestlepalooza. Before we get into the video, if you guys are not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. And don't forget to leave a like down below. Alright guys, let's get into these predictions. The first match that we have on here has actually already been confirmed for this Wrestlepalooza match card, and that is Stephanie Vaquer versus Io Sky for the vacant Women's World Championship. Obviously, we know that Naomi had to vacate her Women's World title because she was pregnant, and that left us with a lot of questions because we were supposed to get Stephanie Vaquer versus Naomi for that Women's World Championship at Clash in Paris. So, it begged the question, were we going to get Stephanie versus somebody else at Clash in Paris? Was it going to be a ladder match or something like that? Obviously, those questions were answered. Adam Pearce did say on the last episode of Raw that Stephanie's opponent would be Io Sky and that they would do it at Wrestlepalooza. And this obviously makes a lot of sense. Io was the last world champion before she got cashed in on by Naomi, and she was going to get her one-on-one rematch against Naomi on an episode of Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam. That couldn't happen because of the Naomi pregnancy. So, yeah, I think this is the right call. Io Sky, she deserves that rematch, that one-on-one rematch for the Women's World Championship that she lost back at Evolution. So I don't mind this at all. And from an in-ring standpoint, I cannot wait to see Io versus Stephanie. We've obviously already gotten it a couple times since Stephanie's gotten called up to the main roster, but they've both ended in disqualifications. So maybe this one won't, and we'll get a clear winner. I have a very tough time predicting this one because, for Io Sky, I feel like her involved in the storyline with the Kabuki Warriors and Rhea Ripley, it doesn't make too much sense to put the world title back onto her. So, but I don't know if I see Stephanie Vaquer winning the title this early, coming to the main roster. I feel like both have a good shot of winning the title, which I love. I love that it's unpredictable. But the way that I see this match ending is we're going to get a hell of a banger between Stephanie Vaquer and Io Sky, and it is going to end with the Kabuki Warriors, both Asuka and Kairi Sane, coming out to the ring trying to help Io Sky until they either accidentally cost her the match or they purposely cost her the match, and Stephanie Vaquer will defeat Io Sky to become the next Women's World Champion. Like I said, I could see a world where we get no disqualifications, maybe just Io wins, but I feel like this is the best way to progress the storyline between Io Sky and Asuka, which is obviously the big money feud that I feel like they're going to get into, and then the tag team match between Io and Rhea versus the Kabuki Warriors. I'm very excited for that. So if you're going to do that, I don't want the world title, on Io Sky. I think that putting the world title on Stephanie Vaquer, despite her being so new to the main roster, I feel like this is just going to elevate her to the next level. And the amount of feuds and great matches she can have for that title, I am excited for it. I don't know if that would mean Stephanie would go heel. I don't think that's the right choice because I feel like Stephanie's so over as a babyface, and she's very new to the main roster, so I don't want her to already have a heel turn. And obviously that is a possibility, I guess, if the Kabuki Warriors were to, cost Io the match, but maybe they do it in some way where it doesn't make Stephanie look like the bad guy, but she ultimately wins the world title. That's my prediction. I think that Stephanie Vaquer will defeat Io Sky for the Women's World Championship at Wrestlepalooza. The next match that I have on this Wrestlepalooza card is Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed versus Jimmy and Jay, the Usos. We obviously saw on the past episode of Monday Night Raw Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed versus LA Knight and Jey Uso in the main event, and then we would see a beatdown after the match like we usually do with Braun and Bronson beating down both Jey Uso and LA Knight, leaving Jey Uso helpless in the middle of the ring until Jimmy Uso's music hit. And Jimmy Uso came out there to save his brother, essentially. And, we could hear Jey Uso telling Jimmy he can't do it by himself. He can't do it alone. He needs Jey. He needs his brother. So that's basically confirming a Usos reunion, which I am super happy about. I've been waiting for these two to reunite for a while. I know Jey got super over as a single superstar. He won a couple singles championships. I think it's time to put him back with Jimmy Uso. I feel like Jimmy needs it more than anything because he's just been in the bloodline vortex and just doing nothing over on Friday Night SmackDown. I want to see Jimmy move over to Raw, and I want to see Jimmy and Jey get in the tag title mix, right? If that's possible. I feel like they can definitely help elevate the tag division. So I'm super excited if this does mean we're getting a full-on Usos reunion, not just for like one match or something like that, which is something that WWE does tend to do. So I'm not getting my hopes up about them, going after the tag titles at some point. But if they do this match at Wrestlepalooza, I have kind of a hard time, on who I think could win this match, because it'll be Jimmy and Jay's first, tag team match back together in a long time. I feel like them losing would kind of suck. But then, you got Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, who you obviously want to make look as strong as possible. So maybe losing to Jimmy and Jay would kind of hurt them, especially since we just saw Bronson lose to Roman Reigns. Not saying losing to Roman Reigns hurts you, but I feel like they should be doing more winning if they want to look as strong as they can be. But yeah, this would be a pretty exciting match. I actually did WrestleMania 42 predictions a couple weeks ago, and I said the match was going to be Bronson and Braun versus the Usos for the tag titles. So it looks like it's going to happen a little earlier than WrestleMania. Wrestlepalooza, I guess we got half of that right, but there's no tag titles involved. Aside from this match happening, I hope what WWE does is they put both of these teams into the tag division. They, like Braun and Bronson and then the Usos fighting for the tag titles, that would make the titles feel so special. That is what WWE, that's what Raw needs right now. Like SmackDown, they're in great hands with the tag titles. They have a bunch of teams that are around the titles, always on TV. For Raw, it just feels absolutely dead, and there's just no good tag teams. Adding these two teams into the equation would instantly take Raw from here to all the way up here. So I really do hope that, whether it's before, it would probably be after this match, that they put them in the tag title scene and put the titles on one of the two groups. It would probably be Braun and Bronson, but maybe down the line you could have Jay and Jimmy win the tag titles from them. I don't care what it is. I just hope that they add these two teams into the tag division. That's a must. Like, if I'm being honest, that they have to do that. But as for who wins this match at Wrestlepalooza, I'm going to roll with Braun and Bronson. I would like to see Jay and Jimmy win, reunited as a tag team, but I feel like they're going to make Braun and Bronson look really strong in this match, do what they've been doing, and pick up a win, and then maybe that can further progress the story of Jimmy and Jay, getting back on the same page as a tag team. Maybe they can do a storyline like that, and then ultimately you have Braun and Bronson win the tag titles, and then Jimmy and Jay go after them once again. I don't care. I'm down for that. So, my pick, I think Braun and Bronson will be victorious in this match. The next match that I expect to get added on to this Wrestlepalooza card is John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. This is obviously one of the easier ones. It's going to happen. John Cena, he's advertised for Wrestlepalooza, and it's going to be Brock Lesnar. Because Brock Lesnar returned at SummerSlam after Cena lost the title to Cody Rhodes, gave him an F5. We obviously haven't seen Brock Lesnar since, because they wanted to do John Cena versus Logan Paul at Clash in Paris. And now that that's over and John Cena won that match, we can start to look forward to Cena versus Lesnar. It's going to happen at Wrestlepalooza. I think they didn't do it on Clash in Paris because they want to make Wrestlepalooza feel like a WrestleMania, like a mini WrestleMania, because it's the first premium live event on ESPN, which I totally get. So doing John Cena versus Brock Lesnar on there is obviously a must, and I cannot wait to see this. I know that Brock is advertised for SmackDown both September 12th and 19th, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously I think that's when they'll get the ball rolling on this feud. Maybe even this SmackDown in Chicago, maybe we'll get a surprise appearance from Brock Lesnar, because I know John Cena is advertised. So I wonder if they, have Lesnar come out and, give Cena another F5 or something like that. Whatever they do, I'm excited for this match. As for who wins between Cena and Lesnar, I have a tough time with this, because obviously, John Cena, he just beat Logan Paul clean, as he should have at Clash in Paris. He's won a lot of matches on this retirement tour, other than to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, and then the tag team match at Money in the Bank to Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. I really don't want to see John Cena lose his matches on his retirement tour. That was the one thing that I didn't want to see, before he started his retirement tour. And, they've been doing a good job with, him winning a lot of matches. He's only lost the matches, that, he was supposed to lose, right? So I feel like him losing to Brock Lesnar would suck, because, we are down to 8 dates on Cena's retirement tour. He's probably only going to have, 3 or 4 more opponents in this retirement tour, so I feel like he should not lose to them. Obviously maybe the last opponent that he has in December he could lose and put over, I should say. But him losing to Brock Lesnar, I feel like that would suck, because I don't know if Brock Lesnar's, back for like a legit run all the way up until WrestleMania, or something like that, or if he's strictly just back to, work John Cena, have this one last feud and match with John Cena and then go away again. I'm not sure at all. I guess we'll find out the questions, or the answers to those questions when he shows up on SmackDown, if he cuts a promo, which I do expect. But like I said, I don't really want to see Brock win this match. I know that Brock's the big, bad, tough guy. They're probably going to give him his old, Beast Incarnate gimmick before he went babyface back in 2021, which I am 100% here for. I would love for them to make Brock look really strong all the way up until the point, where, John Cena has to rally back in the match and, be the ultimate underdog like he was back in 2012 when they did this match at Extreme Rules, and, John Cena ultimately beating Brock Lesnar, beating the Beast Incarnate. I feel like that is what they should do. Although, like I said, I could see a world where Brock Lesnar beats John Cena. The only thing is, I feel like if Brock beats Cena, they're going to run the match back at Crown Jewel, which I don't want. I don't want Cena doing matches with, people more than once, especially with how many, dates we have left. Like I said, 8 dates left. I feel like we should not be doing multiple matches with the same person. I want to see new people. So I'm going with John Cena to beat Brock Lesnar at Wrestlepalooza. The next match that I'm predicting for this Wrestlepalooza card is Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair for the Women's Championship. Now, obviously, right now, this makes zero sense because we haven't seen Bianca Belair in action since WrestleMania. She obviously broke her finger, and she missed Evolution, which was a huge PLE. She missed SummerSlam, which was going to be a huge PLE that I thought she was going to have a major storyline going into with possibly Naomi, Jade Cargill. But obviously, no. We did not get Bianca at either of those PLEs because she has a serious finger injury. And obviously, finger injuries, they're hard to come back from. They're hard to recover from. They can take a really long time. So I don't know when exactly she is going to return. But it would be pretty huge if she returned around right now, because then you can have one of your biggest female superstars on Wrestlepalooza, which, once again, Wrestlepalooza is going to be a stacked card with all of the best that WWE has, because it is the first premium live event on ESPN. So I feel like doing Bianca versus Tiffany on Wrestlepalooza would be an absolute banger. Like, that's obviously a singles match for the title that a lot of people do want to see. Tiffany Stratton, her title reign, it's gotten very stale. They keep throwing the same opponents at her, like Nia Jax and Jade Cargill. We've been there, done that. We need new opponents for Tiffany Stratton. I don't know who else is on SmackDown that she can feud with other than Bianca Belair. She is a SmackDown superstar, even though she was feuding with Rhea and Io going into WrestleMania. She is still a SmackDown superstar. So I feel like maybe that they were just waiting off on bringing her back, for Wrestlepalooza. And like I said, Tiffany versus Bianca, that's a huge match. And that's a match I think Bianca would win. Tiffany, she's had a very long title reign, I believe over 230 days as champion. I think she's the longest reigning champion in all of WWE right now. But I think it is time to give up the title because, like I said, her title reign, it's gotten stale. The feuds haven't been great. She's had a few good matches, but a lot of the matches haven't been great as well. I feel like it is time for change. It is time to do something different with that title, give it to somebody else, and I feel like Bianca Belair is that person. I feel like putting that title on Bianca opens up the door to many more feuds, and the one that really stands out is Bianca versus Jade. I don't know when, but they are going to do that feud eventually, so I feel like, giving Bianca the title, that's the move. That's what WWE needs to do. That'll help SmackDown a lot, and then obviously you can continue to do Tiffany Bianca, maybe past Wrestlepalooza. So what I'm thinking is maybe Tiffany goes out to cut a promo on this episode of Friday Night SmackDown, maybe the next episode, and, basically asking for a challenger, saying, she's done with Nia Jax, she's done with Jade Cargill, and then you have Bianca Belair, her music hit, she gets a huge pop, and then she challenges Tiffany for the title at Wrestlepalooza. That's what I think should happen. Obviously, they've still been kind of doing Tiffany versus Jade in a way, with like Jade helping Tiffany and then saying she doesn't need her help, all this, that. I don't know if there are plans to do that match at Wrestlepalooza again. I would much rather see Tiffany versus Bianca because, like I said, Bianca can win, and then you can go into doing Bianca versus Jade down the line, which I think is a very, much needed storyline that SmackDown desperately needs. They need good storylines. So yeah, I'm going to go with Bianca versus Tiffany on this card for the Women's Championship, and Bianca Belair becoming the new WWE Women's Champion. The next match that I'm expecting to get added onto this Wrestlepalooza match card is Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. I think this is another obvious one. I've obviously already started this feud with Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes right after SummerSlam when they did the tag team match with John and Cody versus Drew and Logan. And then we had Drew basically write off Cody Rhodes with a Claymore through the announce table after that match ended in a disqualification. So we haven't seen Cody Rhodes on WWE TV since then because, like I said, they basically wrote him off. He is in Australia filming the new Street Fighter movie, so I don't know when to expect him back. But like I said, Wrestlepalooza is probably going to be one of the bigger PLEs we get. It's the first one on ESPN. They're going to go all in. And obviously, you can't go all in without Cody Rhodes. You have to have your WWE champion on that show, the QB1. He will be there, and he will be fighting Drew McIntyre. I do expect him to return within the next couple of weeks, whenever he returns from Australia. I don't know when that will be. But obviously, we've gotten a lot of promos from Drew McIntyre, talking about Cody Rhodes, We've obviously seen Randy Orton kind of get mixed into the equation. He's been feuding with Drew McIntyre now for a little while, and he returned a couple weeks ago to give Drew an RKO. So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to do a number one contenders match between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre to determine who faces Cody Rhodes at WrestlePalooza. I would like that, especially with Cody not being able to be on TV because he's in Australia. I feel like that's a good way to have other guys in the main event scene like Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton fighting for that number one contendership to fight Cody Rhodes. Since you don't actually have the champion, that's a good way to stall. So I feel like they should do that. I could also see them doing a triple threat at WrestlePalooza between Drew, Randy, and Cody. I would 100% be down for that, but I don't feel like that's the move here. I feel like they should have Randy lose to Drew if they do a number one contenders match, which I expect, and then, continue to delay Randy versus Cody Rhodes, right? I know we got it at Night of Champions for the King of the Ring, but that was just the taste, right? Like, that was kind of showing us that Randy Orton was hinting at a heel turn on Cody Rhodes. I feel like they should have him lose this match and then, do Randy versus Cody sometime down the line. That should be a one-on-one match with a proper build and feud. I feel like just putting him in this match, to make it a triple threat, I feel like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I feel like if they do that number one contenders match, Drew should without a doubt win. That's the feud right here. It's Drew and Cody. But yeah, I do expect Drew and Cody on this card without a doubt. So, who wins that match? I think this one's a little more predictable, although I would like to see Drew McIntyre win this match. I think that Cody Rhodes will defeat Drew in this match. I feel like with Cody winning the title back at SummerSlam, which was only a month ago, basically getting the torch passed from John Cena to him, there's no way he loses his first, title defense in his second reign. Although I feel like it could be a shorter reign because it's not as special as the first reign, where, you had the ever-looming presence of The Rock, and when he was going to return and fight for the title. And then obviously, like I said, it was his first title win, his first world title win. So obviously he was going to hold it for a long time. But now I feel like in his second reign, he could lose at any given moment. He could lose to Drew McIntyre. Maybe it doesn't happen at WrestlePalooza. Maybe they run it back a few more times and Drew wins the title. I could see that. I could obviously see Randy Orton being the one to defeat Cody Rhodes. Maybe CM Punk, a few other guys. But yeah, I do expect Cody Rhodes to win this one at WrestlePalooza. I don't know if this would main event the show because, in my opinion, there's 3 main events. Cena versus Lesnar, this match, and then a match that I'm going to get into right after I'm done talking about this. So if this does main event and Drew McIntyre was to win the title, that would be sick and so unexpected. That would be a crazy way to go out on your first premium live event on ESPN. But I do expect Cody to retain in this match. But I want to see them continue the storyline after WrestlePalooza. Like I said, do 2 matches, do a trilogy maybe, and maybe Drew wins the title at some other point. But I feel like with this being Cody's first title defense, I feel like he definitely is going to retain in this match. And finally, that brings me to the last match that I think will get added on to this WrestlePalooza card, and it's a crazy one. And it is a mixed tag team match between the team of Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins versus the team of CM Punk and a returning AJ Lee. Obviously, we are all expecting AJ Lee to return to the WWE with how Becky Lynch, how she joined Seth Rollins' group and costed CM Punk the match at Clash in Paris, delivering him a low blow. She has been internally listed as a member of the Vision, so we will be seeing her work with Seth Rollins. Obviously, if you guys watched Monday Night Raw, you saw a promo between Becky Lynch and CM Punk. Becky came out to Seth's music and then, was kind of mocking CM Punk and clowning him by slapping him in the face because he couldn't do anything about it. And then we see CM Punk tell Becky Lynch that she is going to regret doing that. And then, obviously, we see him backstage with Adam Pearce, asking Adam Pearce where SmackDown is. Adam Pearce telling him it's in Chicago. CM Punk kind of smirks and said, awesome, or whatever he said. So, obviously, we've all got the same idea. AJ Lee is going to return on SmackDown. I think it's pretty obvious. I am super excited for this. A lot of the dirt sheets have also been saying that it's pretty much confirmed she's going to return and fight at WrestlePalooza, which I kind of hate. I don't like the dirt sheets mentioning that. But yeah, I feel like it's pretty safe to say this is the match that's going to be on WrestlePalooza. And like I said, I am so excited for it. It just makes too much sense with what's been going on with Seth Rollins saying he hates CM Punk's family, with Becky Lynch, getting involved in the mix now. It just makes too much sense. They have to do a mixed tag team match at WrestlePalooza. I mean, that ovation AJ Lee is going to get when she comes back is going to be nuclear. Cannot wait for that. But now, getting into who I think will win this match, I think it has to be CM Punk and AJ Lee without a doubt. There is no possible way you have AJ Lee lose her first, her return match, first of all, and her first match in WWE in over 10 years. There is just no way I see that happening whatsoever. I think that it also ends with AJ pinning Becky Lynch. I could also see a world where CM Punk pins Seth Rollins because they're feuding for the world title, obviously. But I see a world also where AJ Lee pins Becky in the match, and then you do it like kind of like a side program with, AJ and Becky for the women's IC title. I think AJ is a real candidate to dethrone Becky for the IC title if she sticks around, longer than Wrestlepalooza, which I feel like she will. I feel like, she could go in one last run, maybe all the way until WrestleMania or something like that. So yeah, I do expect this to be a really fun match, and I do expect AJ Lee to be the one to pin Becky since this is her first match in, over 10 years, like I said, and then, that puts her in the immediate conversation for the women's IC title, and then you can have Becky and AJ feud for that title, and then you can obviously continue the storyline between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And then I feel like when it's all said and done, whenever that is, you have AJ hold the women's IC title and CM Punk hold the World Heavyweight title. That would be such a crazy moment. Like if you told someone that, over 10 years ago, or when CM Punk left WWE, I don't think anybody would have believed you that both CM Punk and AJ Lee would have returned to the WWE and both be holding championships at the same time. I think that's a crazy, way to look at it. But yeah, I'm super excited for this Wrestlepalooza card. I feel like it's going to be a very stacked card with, like I said, 3 matches that could legit main event. I feel like this one kind of has to main event since it's AJ Lee's return match. But like I said, Drew Cody for the WWE Championship, that could also main event, right? And then Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, I feel like that could main event as well. Although I feel like that match is going to open the show. So it's a matter of what's going to main event between the 2 matches I just named. But yeah, super excited for Wrestlepalooza. Cannot wait for the very first premium live event on ESPN. Should be a good one. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button down below. Don't forget to comment down below what future videos you guys would like to see from me. Alright guys, peace.